y'all don't really want it like, yeah. Here comes the, no, here comes the, oh, here comes the, y'all don't really want it like, yeah. Here comes the, no, here comes the, oh, here comes the.
Hey, welcome back. Sooner Soundwaves, episode 9, coming to you after the week of OU Texas. OU falls to the Texas Longhorns, unfortunately, 23-6. It was our 10th anniversary trip. We are licking our wounds, but here we are coming back at you. We're going to talk about the Texas game, and we're going to look forward to South Carolina, and then we'll finish with Locks of the Week. I'm Iceberg. Alongside me is the good fellow.
Boom.
And St. Pablo.
Sooner.
Did I cut out again, guys?
A little
Say
bit.
it again, good fellow.
Did I cut out?
A little bit.
Okay. A little
Yeah.
bit.
We know what you said. Okay. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to go first. What a debacle. 23-6, OU falls to Texas. Gosh, guys, I mean, we said a lot on the way back from Dallas. Again, OU cannot get into the end zone against the Longhorn defense. It's been a week of – not even a week. It's been days of hearing all of the other podcasters talk about all of the problems that they think. In my opinion, this had nothing to do with the injury or the surgery of John Mateer, except for the limited practice that he went through the course of the week. As he and Arbuckle had said in their post-game pressers, his eyes were in the wrong place. They definitely were. I feel like he was trying to force his hand in some situations. The OU offensive line is extremely depleted. They got worked over. Still cannot run the football. Defense didn't play terrible. They were just on the field way too much. As most of you have probably heard now, OU only had 5 offensive snaps in the third quarter. The SEC has come out and stated that they missed at least one block in the back on the punt return for Texas. I think if they would have rewound one more play, they would have also agreed that they missed a pass interference call. But we're not going to be Auburn fans and dwell on the fact that this officiating missed a couple calls. It happens, but we just got beat. And in my opinion, we got outcoached. We said it all along last week. It was going to be scary because Texas had their backs against the wall, and they came out swinging. They came out fighting. Felt really decent at halftime, even with a 6-3, which sounds hilarious, lead. But then the second half was atrocious, beginning with the third quarter only having 5 offensive snaps. Let's see. Yeah, guys, what else? Help me out here.
No, I agree. I think, the part of me I was going to have, rooting for Mateer to start last Saturday, and it was almost like a gift and a curse. I think OU was put in a position to where if Mateer was even a little bit healthy, you almost had to play him. You think about this. Let's say we didn't play Mateer and we played Hawkins and we were to lose the same way. Is the conversation now, should we have played Mateer instead of Hawkins? I don't think it would have mattered. I think even if Hawkins played, I'm not sure if he would have been able to produce as much, considering some things that our offensive line is not in the best shape right now due to injuries. Our running game has not been effective all year. And believe it or not, I think they gamble on him coming to Oklahoma, but he has not done anything in terms of recouping some of that NIL that we've gotten from him. So I think overall, the defense played a decent game, as decent as it could be, considering how much time they were on the field. I think there was some plays to where we were just in bad positions, but it wasn't the entire game. I think in terms of just Mateer, he could have had 5 interceptions. And again, I agree with you. A lot of that were just rushed, forcing some passes are very delayed on some passes where he read it half a second too late and then he still threw the ball. Those things have to be cleaned up. And I my gut tells me that was all due to just preparation, not having I want to say one-on-ones because they're all great athletes. No matter if they're ones, twos, they're still in college playing good football. So I just think it's more just him not being able to really practice in an environment that was conducive, getting ready for what I would believe is one of the toughest game of the season, considering all factors with the rival. There is tough games coming up, but in terms of right at that moment, Texas was our biggest competitor of the season thus far. So we'll see if we can rebound this weekend with South Carolina. And I won't go too much into that, but I do believe this is a good rebound game in terms of the quality of play of South Carolina and what they've been able to do this season. I know the record doesn't display really how good they are, but they are a really solid team. They were solid last year, and they are solid this year despite of their 3-3 record. So we'll see what this looks like as we preparing for this Saturday. I would like to see how we do bounce back. What did we do in terms of packaging on our offensive line? I know if we can't run, let's get rid of it. Let's spread them out. Let's do 4 or 5 wide. Let's do some motions, but do not line up like we can't run the ball and we're not productive. I mean, we haven't been all year. So at this point, let's swap it. Let's get rid of it. Let's scheme it up to where we are using Matil and his legs and his ability to roll out the pocket, to put defenses and scratch those outside runs to see what we can do. But we got to make a change, and it has to happen this Saturday against South Carolina.
Yeah. So first off, I appreciate you mentioning the 10 years. It was a lot of fun. The game itself, the atmosphere, the state fair, again, was a tremendous amount of fun. Even the night before when we were down, we talked about, we were out talking with people and Texas fans. And, there was definitely a palpable experience with Texas. They were not near as confident going into this game, the fans, so Texas back was against the wall in a desperate type scenario. We were there at the game. We had great seats. It's a beautiful day. We noticed, I don't know if it's due to the government shutdown, but there was no flyover this year. We talked about that. Yeah. And, it's just, it's always so much fun, just the whole experience. And every year we mention it goes by a lot quicker. This is why we love football. It's a lot like life. Sometimes you're unlucky. Unfortunately for Brent Venables, he's experienced this for the 3rd time and, a bad luck going into this game. Back in 2002, we had a quarterback that was in concussion protocol, and that was definitely a deflating type situation. 2004, we have the true freshman starter and Michael Hawkins, and we had a quarter of play there, but again, we just had a quarterback issue in 2024. Similar experience in 2025, but I certainly hope there's a difference here. I totally agree that Matir is in a situation where he didn't practice as much. And any athlete knows that is a true thing. The thing is there was some hero ball out of him, and that's not required with this type of defense that OU has. If you don't turn the football over and you manage the game, much like Arch Manning did on the other side, you're gonna, with a defense like he has at Texas and an outstanding defense, you've got a chance all the way down to the wire. And so I have a lot of respect for Matir trying to come back, because that uplift the team. Everyone was excited, but he pushed and he tried to put it all on his shoulders, and it doesn't need to be. I mean, you've got an amazing defense on the other side of the football, so there's no need for that. And I think it's a learning experience. The positive side of this is that he got thrust it into real-time game experience. So I see this as a different year, 2025, than the previous years. And the reason being is that our starting quarterback, Heisman potential, got thrusted in. He got good on good action really quick. He's going to get a week of practice, and I have a lot more hope moving forward with what's left in the schedule than I did say in 2022. It's such a deflating loss when you lose to Texas so badly. 2024, again, you lose badly and it takes time to recover. I don't see that this year. I see that you have a leader at hand willing to put himself in the ball game, willing to take it on his shoulders. That speaks to his character, but it's not good football. And we move forward, and we don't let, like Penn State did, don't let one loss turn into two and then three. You get back up, you got your experience, and you're going to have to manage the game better. No turnovers on the road in the SEC, and play good football. But gentlemen, I have to say, no matter how depressing it was or it is to lose, it was a lot of fun seeing you guys, hanging out, having a good time, and just kind of getting to experience that once again. The Red River Shootout Rivalry, whatever you want to call it. It's a ton of fun, people, and still Boomer Sooner. But we can't have any more bad luck like this when we roll into this game. We've already used it all up for the next decade.
St. Pablo, you can make me cry, man.
Man.
All right.
No,
Yeah, if you haven't been to, if you are a OU fan, or if you are a fan of the team down south, Texas, and you have not attended one of these games, hey, you're missing out. Like, you don't have to go every year. We're blessed to do that. And, we're excited to do that. But if you can go one time and get that experience, it is a one lifetime experience that it changed the way you look at football, especially in college. So the only game that is positioned in the middle of a state fair where you can walk out the stadium and get you a corn dog or a turkey leg, play some games. It's like no other.
Yeah. A lot of fun. I appreciate you making sure you emphasize that, both of you. Not to get even more sappy, but you never know when in this life, that maybe one of us won't be able to make the trip for whatever reason, as we move forward in this thing we call life. So, at the end of the day, it was a great time. And yeah, we always talked about it. We look forward to it in another 364 days from when it happens. And then by the time we're loading up and leaving, it seems like we're turning around and coming back. So, anyhow, I don't think I have too much to add. There's some prime examples of Mateer trying to force the ball. There's a lot of missed blocks on the edge that really would have helped. There's a lot of missed opportunities. And, hearing all of the players throughout the course of the last couple of days since then, it seems like they understand, and it seems like they know that they didn't play well enough to win as a collective. And everybody, or not everybody, but a lot of people had their worst game at the worst time.
Yeah.
So that's the hope. Again, OU falls to Texas 23-6 in the Red River Shootout Rivalry, whatever we want to call it. And we look forward to South Carolina next, going to South Carolina as the visitors. Guys, I'll be completely honest with you. This game's all about us. South Carolina is a very beatable SEC team. They have a very good quarterback. Of course, they're a mediocre SEC team, but a mediocre SEC team is as good as a lot of other teams in a lot of conferences. But I think this is all about OU. This is all about can John Mateer trust his reads and not try to force the football? Can the defense continue to do what they've been doing, except for we need some turnovers? If you recall, I believe it was this game last year in Norman. I think out of the first 6 or 7 offensive plays, we had 3 turnovers. And at least 2 of the 3 were resulted in like either a pick 6 or a scoop and score. It was a complete debacle in the first quarter, and it was basically, we were playing catch up from the middle of the first quarter on. So got to take care of the football, need to figure out how to force some turnovers. And for me, going into South Carolina is all about us, is all about trying to get the run game going. Hopefully we can get some offensive linemen back from injury, and hopefully John Mateer can not play hero ball, as St. Pablo mentioned, and can just trust his reads and get the ball to the right athlete at the right time.
Yeah, well, a vengeance factor, I think, definitely plays in, because you mentioned how embarrassing of a loss that was for the Sooners. That game felt like it was over within the first 3 to 5 minutes, that ball game in Norman. So I think there's a vengeance factor here. So I think that's a good thing for the Sooners on the road. But I'm also have my concerns because we are facing a similar opponent and environment that is a desperate team, desperate for a win. And, that is, we're in a bad spot in that regard on the road in the SEC. So that comes into the equation as well. Guys, help me. This is, and I'm not, listeners, I'm not being inappropriate by any stretch. This is Cocktober there. And, South Carolina, the Gamecocks. There's a thing to that. I don't know, entirely. It doesn't sound like that's played out real well for the Gamecocks in October. I don't know if that's a myth, but it is. And so, what I'll say is, it's anytime you can win on the road in the SEC, that's a big deal. And so the Sooners, they go here with a vengeance factor. We apparently I think you guys have seen the injury update coming out. We're getting some people healthy. There is a little bit of concern with Javonte Barnes. The Gamecocks have very, very, very good edge rushers. And I think that was part of the reason for the quick turnovers and stuff last year. Very good edge rushers. So not having him in the pass blocking scenario is a kind of a difficult thing. But offensively, I think the Gamecocks have struggled this year, and I'm not exactly sure why that would be with their Sellers as their quarterback. I know he's had some injuries. I'm not even sure he's 100% still from what I've heard, but yeah, it's the overall is low. I don't think that people expect this to be a real 43.5 points. I don't think there's any expectation this is a high scoring game by any stretch. But it is it surprising? It is to me, but for you guys that we are a 5.5 favorite?
Yeah, that's surprising to me too.
Yeah, for me as well. I think it is pretty high spread after that loss. So,
how long have you had the October dialed up? How long have you had that stewing back there?
No. I mean, I was listening to somebody else too, and I didn't know this was a thing. So,
okay, all right, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
But I'll tell you this: you talk about Mateer. I guess one good thing about going into this game is that he doesn't have to learn the offense. Like, he's been in this offense for 3 years, right? So in terms of just him getting the reps in, him getting game ready, I think the biggest thing is just mentally. I think I want to go back to the last game. I think it got to the point where he was so elevated, like just really hyped up, and he never got to a balance. It was never like the entire game. He felt like he was just rushed the entire game. And you gotta settle out. You gotta mellow down and kind of compose yourself a little bit. I don't think he was ever composed at all. So going into this game, I think it's a good chance for us to see how he can calm himself down, get back into game mode, not hero ball, but do what he needs to do in terms of just putting the ball in positions to where our receivers can take advantage. You think about last game. I don't think Panic got his first pass for the third or fourth quarter. Like, he was just so quiet. That was your leading receiver or up there all season long, and didn't even look to him at all last game. So you got to get back to the basics, man. Get back to the basics. This offense You've been running for 3 years. Calm yourself down, and play football. Just play football at the end of the day, and you'll be okay. So our biggest chance to win this game is going to fall on Mateer and him being able to come into this game, calm down, and just playing good football.
Yeah, the hope is you got the bad one behind you, even though it was in the most crucial, in my opinion, one of the biggest games you've had thus far. You got your bad one behind you, and you can just move forward. And I'd like to see us win the turnover battle at least once. I think that's a key right here in SEC play away as the visitors. That's no pressure on the defense, but it's really tough to win the turnover battle when you've got goose eggs every game but one in terms of turnovers. So, looking forward to it. 11:45 kick on the SEC Network against South Carolina Gamecocks. I'm sure Shane Beamer will have those kids jacked up looking for an upset. Final thoughts on the game?
Yeah, Ben Arbuckle said something in his presser leading up to this, and I'm not sure what day it was, but he was talking about, the rotation of running backs. And so we have to establish the run, but the rotation of running backs and how certain plays have kind of, designate who's going to run the football, which back is coming in. And being a non-expert, other than a watcher of football and enjoy this sport, that's got to tip he's got to tip it a little bit. And as in terms of, this is the play that we're going to run, because you see the tendencies and you see what's going on. And so, the offensive line, granted, you were right. They are banged up, but also they didn't play very well against Texas. But, are we doing things with this rotation that's giving away, some things when you don't have a consistent guy in? We talk about rhythm with a running back. One, they're not getting the rhythm because we're rotating in and out. But then two, are we showing, some cards when we rotate one guy in and we know, well, Javonte Barnes here is just going to be in pass protection. He's not really running the football. I could see it working both ways, but I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on that, because obviously that is a key factor as well. On top of what you said, we have to establish the run. What do you envision establishing the run looking like moving forward? Is it going to be a continued rotation here, or what are we doing?
Yeah, I think but I think both of you guys agree on establishing the run. To a certain extent, like we're not the traditional right now in the box running the ball. Like we cannot be. We don't have the line right now for that. And honestly, I'm not sure we have the back for it. I think yes, we have potential. I think Belloc can be that type of back, but right now, in terms of like where we are, what I've seen this year, we haven't had an established running back that has been consistent enough to get the title to. So I think we have to do things to where we're stretching the defense. We have to be outside, some tosses, got some counters, but up the middle, like we're not healthy enough right now, and we won't be Saturday to get behind this line and run the ball as a traditional run game, in my opinion. But who knows what happens Saturday? But right now, too many injuries for that.
I would be extremely surprised if we had any tendencies. Analytics have gone so far, and you've got, folks, these analysts are scouting ourselves. Even a lot of high schools do it too, scout yourself to make sure you don't have tendencies within yourself. So I truly believe it's a rotation just to rotate, whether it's right or wrong. I don't, the running game isn't working, but I don't know that it's with the rotation. I think a lot of it's up front. And so I think, for the rest of this year, for me, I know we've in the beginning, I think it was episode 1, we talked a lot about Venables and what record is he on the hot seat. I honestly think Beatonbow and Murray are on the hot seats. I think we've been talking way too much about the offensive line for the last 2 to 3 years. And we've been talking way too much about the lack of a running game from the running back room that seems to be loaded every single year. the last 2 to 3 years. Not saying they're, I mean, gosh, look at how many people they have in the NFL. I'm not saying they're bad coaches, but maybe we're a step behind in terms of technique or something along those lines. Maybe we need a little bit of change of scenery. I don't know, but in terms of tendencies, I don't feel like there would be any of that. But something's up, and I don't know what it is. But the running back room and the O lineman room are a little bit weak right now in terms of production.
Yeah.
So outside of like the quarterback run seems to be what you rely on for a commitment to running. And then out of that, you have what you probably say multiple backs that are pretty darn good, but you won't commit to one. Like you want to give, it's a, I would like to see a commitment, at least try it in a ball game, commit to the run and stick with one and just see how it goes. When's the last time we've had that, where you have a majority of your, one running back? I don't know.
There's a lot of risk. And that's the crappiest part of your game. There's a lot of risk. Here's what I'll say about the difference between a quarterback run and a running back run is you have one extra blocker or you have one less guy in the box. That's why the quarterback run is so successful when you have a running quarterback, is because you've either taken another guy out of the box by moving a running back out to, and going empty, or you've got a running back in the box that's going to go hit, you've got another hat on a hat, basically. So I think that, in addition to the fact that we have an athletic quarterback, is the reason why the quarterback run does work, which to me kind of points to the fact that, we just need that one extra guy to go block somebody. So like I said, I don't know if it's scheme in terms of up front or what the case is, but I mean, if you're saying we just need to go and sell out to the run one game, I think that game was probably Kent State.
No, I'm not saying sell out to the run. Obviously, but your running is your. We're not getting anything out of this current model. The rotating in and out. So what I'm saying is stick with one guy. I mean, and just see how it goes. Not saying that whatever. Obviously, what's effective. I mean, the quarterback run is effective for us. His passing can be very effective. It has been, minus this previous game. But I'm saying running back by committee, let's try eliminating the committee and give one guy a shot. How much worse could it get with,
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, me either. Let's pick one and go with it.
To me, and I hate to say this, I almost feel like they're playing chess with the portal. You know what I mean? Like spread the carries so everybody gets a little love. So I mean, there's talent back there, but if you always keep them guessing on who's going to get the play, when. That I hope that's not but that's what it feels like to me.
Yeah,
it's like nobody's going to be our one, so we can kind of try to keep everybody. Instead of, let's say we sell out to Blaylock, well, then Robinson hits the portal. Barnes hits the portal. Next thing you know, you're trying to go all over the nation recruiting running backs again because you just lost 2 or 3. But no, I get what you're saying. It would be interesting to see, even 2, and with no rotation. You know what I mean? Like sell out to Blaylock. Blaylock gets tired. They just like they do in the pros. You got another guy that comes in until Blaylock's ready to come back. So it would be interesting.
Yeah. And I agree. That's what it seems like to me too. We're appeasing the committee at the expense of, you won this week. You had the best practice. You're the guy. I mean, you're talking hat on hat. Put Xavier Robinson as a fullback. Get you an extra blocker in there and get some of these guys in.
You go I formation. You also bring another guy in the box.
Yeah.
So anyway, I hear you though.
Yeah.
I would like to see at least one showcased guy with a backup that comes in there and see what happens. So, all right. Saturday, 11:45 a.m. SEC Network, South Carolina. Sounds like we all think it's all about the Sooners. Take care of yourselves, do the little things right, and hopefully we can come out of this thing with a victory.
Dare you say, do the things that are required for winning.
Do the things that are required for winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
That quote all over. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that so much, and everyone, it's like, all right, I got it.
The great thing about that is you can tell you've got a bunch of 18 to 20, whatever these days, year-old kids that are listening, and they're absorbing everything that they're being told, because they come out of there and they say exactly the same thing that Venables says in his press conference. Do the things that are required to win. All those things come out of their mouths, the same verbiage as he does, which is good. So, all right, let's move on. Locks of the week. Let's see here. Who goes first? Best record? Is that what we said? Best record goes first, or whoever won goes first?
We say
Either
something
way,
different every week. Yeah.
Okay, I'll go
I
first.
will have the best record eventually, but I did win last week.
All right.
Okay, I took a loss. I took Oregon 7.5 point favorite over Indiana, which we all thought. I really feel like we all thought was a little bit of a slam dunk. That Oregon was one of the, if not the best team in the nation, one of the top two teams in the nation, and that Indiana was kind of I don't want to say a fraud, but maybe they were a little overrated. Turns out they're not, and they beat down Oregon in Eugene. So I took a loss and dropped to 5-3. And I hate to do this. I really feel like good fella here. But I'm going to go back to Oregon. As a 17.5 point favorite over Rutgers. Okay. I feel like Dan Lanning is pissed. They did not perform. He's going to run the score up on somebody. And it just so happens that Rutgers is the next on the schedule. So I'm taking Oregon as a 17.5 point favorite over Rutgers. Please keep your shirt on, Dan Lanning, and let's win this ballgame.
Oh, that's good. Game day reference.
St. Pablo, you missed that. You were still getting ready for the game, and Dan Lanning and his name just escaped me. The game day guy, Pat McAfee, both stood on a chair, turned around to the fans, and took their shirts off and started doing a chant or something. So anyway, right now, familiar? St. Pablo's Googling it right now. He wants to see Dan.
No, sorry. Yeah, I did not see that. Okay. Way to go.
All right.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Hey, I'll go.
You both have the same record.
Yeah, I'll go. So last week I had South Florida Bulls. They were playing the Mean Green North Texas, and I think the spread was
1.5.
-1.5 for North Texas. And I've been watching a little bit of South Florida, and I just knew that was just too close in terms of who they are, and they felt a little bit disrespected to be that close to North Texas. So we were able to watch that game on Friday, and it got real ugly third quarter. They end up scoring 28-7 in the third quarter, end up winning the game 63-36. That should be a +2 win, but it only counts as one for the week. But South Florida won the game in deciding fashion. I am going to the Big 12 this week, and Baylor plays TCU. I'm going to go with TCU. They're at home. It is 2.5 favorite over Baylor. Baylor is 4-2. TCU is 4-2. But I do believe TCU is a little bit better than Baylor at this moment. So I have TCU upsetting or beating Baylor with the spread currently at 2.5.
Okay.
By far the biggest shocker was that Oregon game, and I will 100% get your back on that one. That shocked me, and I know it shocked every model out there. You know, all these computer models. You got to be kidding me that happened. 3 and 5, we're still down here in the pyramid in the basement, and 5 and 3 for the iceberg. But it was a victory. I'm going to say I'm 1-0, and the Miller model was correct for once. I'm undefeated. Yeah, I got a little calculation I do, but it's not quite as sophisticated as some. Really, I just go down the list, try to guess. But nonetheless, I am 1-0.
Did you say calculation or calculation?
I say calculation. Whoa. Whoa.
It's
October.
October.
I thought, we didn't know where we were going. Okay.
Kid-friendly affair. So, so what I'm saying to you is that 1-0, I had Georgia, even though it was a little bit closer than I thought. Again, I think that Jackson Arnold is learning a little bit to be a better manager, but that offense is still very anemic at Auburn, and Georgia walks out of there with a victory, covers the spread, 3 and 5. So thus far on the year, and I just don't feel as confident as the good fella that I would have come out victorious this season. But nonetheless, let's go 1-0.
All right.
That's it. Yeah, that's
quiet. So let's just
all right. Here we are.
Gentlemen. All right. Those were the locks of the week. It's the week of the South Carolina Gamecocks headed down to be the visitors in Columbia, South Carolina. So let's hope the Sooners take care of themselves. That'll do it for us.
Vengeance is the Sooners.
Episode 9. Boomer.
Here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like.
Texas got lucky. They got lucky.